Hello and welcome back to this video series on the AP Comparative Government course. Today we'll be discussing the last component of the Introduction to Comparative Government, Public Policy. Let's get started. To start off, there are many issues that are associated with policy, but policy is necessary because regardless of the differences between states, all countries have to set policy in order to run their own states. However, the approaches that each state takes, as well as the emphasis on the parts of the specific problems they face, is where the countries differ. Now, there are four major factors that affect policy. They are economic performance, social welfare, civil liberties, and the environment. We'll get into each part of it. Now, economic performance. Governments are critically concerned with the economic health of a state because it directly correlates with internal stability. And many nations now reduce the potential negative consequences by joining international trade groups and participating in international trade. Examples of such are Mercosur, NAFTA, OPEC, so forth. Now, economic performance is really measured in four major ways. First is GDP. Now, GDP is gross domestic product, which is the measurement of all goods and services produced by a country in a given year. Now, GNP, on the other hand, is gross national product, which is all GDP, but also including the income of every citizen outside of the state. Now, GNP per capita is essentially the average measure of GNP per person. Finally, purchasing power parity. What purchasing power parity is it has a base of GNP, but then goes further by analyzing what the people can actually buy with their income in their local economies. So these are the ways to measure economic performance in a state. Now, social welfare. Now, social welfare is commonly divided into four major areas: health, employment, family assistance, and education. Now, social welfare is key to public policy because countries stress each different aspect of social welfare due to their attitudes towards the various subjects. For example, China focuses very little on unemployment assistance as well as family assistance, but focuses incredibly large amount of money on education. While countries that are democracies, on the other hand, like Great Britain and the United States, generally balances all of them with a greater emphasis on education and health. Now, when we're measuring social welfare, there are several key parts that are being measured. First, there's literacy rate, distribution of income, life expectancy, and then educational level. Now, how do we measure social welfare? Well, there are two major indexes. First is the Gini index. The Gini index essentially describes the amount of societal economic inequality through the use of a mathematical formula by putting in distribution of income, literacy rate, life expectancy, so forth. On the other hand, Human Development Index, which is the more commonly used one, looks at the well-being of a country's people by factoring in literacy rate, life expectancy, educational enrollment, and GDP. The third major part that influences public policy is civil liberties. Now, there's a difference between political rights and civil liberties. Political rights is a focus on equality of the people, while civil liberties is the focus on the freedoms of the people. Now, within democracies, the basic guarantees of civil liberties that are accessible to everyone who is a citizen of any type of democracy is free speech and association, the freedom of association. But many democracies actually look at the ideas of the right to assembly and criticizing the government a bit differently. For example, countries like Great Britain and the United States, that isn't celebrated and protected civil liberty. On the other hand, when you look at the Russian Federation, these rights are punishable by law. If you try to assemble or openly criticize the government, you will be thrown in jail. It is not a civil liberty in Russia. Now, to guarantee and preserve civil liberties and political rights across time, constitutions are incredibly important. What constitutions are is that they show in writing the specific political rights and civil liberties guaranteed to the people, that also binds the state itself to proactively protect these rights. Now, as with everything else, civil liberties can be clearly measured. Now, the way we measure this can be attributed to the organization Freedom House. What Freedom House has done is that they created a freedom scale from a scale of 1 to 7, with 1 being the most free of a country and 7 being the least free. But the final aspect that influences public policy is in the environment. The environment is a huge factor in many modern democracies as exemplified by the formation of green parties throughout many European democracies such as France and Great Britain. Now, environmental groups and themselves also have another different impact because the fact that many environmental groups operate regardless of borders, as in outside their own borders, means that they're promoting a global civil society by enhancing cooperation between states as well as transporting ideas and information. So that concludes the section on public policy. Join us next time when we will discuss the first major country of this course, Great Britain. So, as always, if you have any questions or require any source material, please contact Lizzie Zudok, Cameron Devers, or Zach Zhao. Thank you and have a nice day.